Assalamu alaikum, hello and welcome. Today, in this program of persons of interest, we are going to look at the current president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. We will just touch on a bit of his background before we go into the other part of our interest. Paul Kagame is the current president of the Republic of Rwanda. He was born in 1957 in the southern part of Rwanda. When he was 2 years old, his parents fled to Uganda, and that is where he grew up. Kagame studied at Makerere University in Kampala before joining forces with Yoweri Museveni. Kagame became Yoweri Museveni's chief of intelligence and gained a reputation for incorruptibility. Underlined that word, incorruptibility and severity, by enforcing a stringent code of behavior in the military intelligence. Before the end of 1980s, Kagame and 3 others formed Rwandan Patriotic Front, and in early 1994, Rwandan Patriotic Front overthrew the previous regime, and Kagame assumed, after government was formed, assumed the role of vice president and minister for defense. Kagame is currently the 6th president of Rwanda after being elected in 2000 for his first term. Now, many people, when Rwanda is mentioned, many people associate Rwanda with Kagame. We want to look at why. Why is Rwanda very much associated with Kagame, and Kagame very much associated with Rwanda? He is praised by many as the pioneer for the rights of women. Not only that, he is also praised for being an environmentalist. Now, there are a lot of positive sides that we are going to talk about regarding Paul Kagame, but there are very few negative sides I'm going to talk about today regarding Paul Kagame, because what is important in leadership is results. The process is formality, and I'm sorry to say this. What is important in leadership is results. If you can get the results, I mean development and progress, the process is there and is subject to debate. And what we can see in Rwanda is there is a lot of progress in terms of development and economic prosperity in that small country. Is one of the smallest country in Africa, but as we are going to see, the strides they have taken are commendable. And that is because of the leadership provided by President Paul Kagame. Now let us go down into the positive side. Why is Kagame seen as a transformational leader, one of the transformational leaders in Africa? Why? I have 5 reasons. And the first one we are going to talk about is Rwandan President Paul Kagame has made technology the mainstream industry in Rwanda. Therefore, it is no coincidence that the first made in Africa smartphone comes from Rwanda. This is a huge step. The raw materials that are used in making smartphones comes from Africa, and it comes from Congo. Those materials are taken from Africa and taken into this developed world, where they construct these gadgets and then ship them back to Africa, expensive, very high price. While when they are taking the raw materials from Africa, the price is just negligible. In addition to that, they create conditions, conflict conditions in these parts of the world where the raw materials are found. Now, Paul Kagame has shown that we can use the raw materials we have locally and construct gadgets that are far much better than those that are shipped from abroad, overseas, and brought them here, and we pay high price. The laborers, the workforce are locals, the materials are locals, the gadgets are locals. What is remaining is these gadgets to be exported to the developed world, and that will be coming pretty very soon if we continue with this trend. Number two is one of the toughest policies he has created, one of the toughest policies, where it is known as Omuganda. Omuganda is force. He created a policy whereby people, Rwandans, give time for local community. You put in time to create better environment. Every Saturday, the last Saturday of every month, every individual in Rwanda goes out to do general cleanup of their environment, of their area. And this is something that instills discipline in the community. Not only discipline, but also it creates ownership. You feel you are part of this community, not as an individual who always thinks about other people doing something for them. So you have to take these steps. You have to take the initiative to take the broom and sweep your neighborhood. That is a policy that is creating a kind of a brotherhood in the neighborhoods. Number three is Rwanda is one of the countries in Africa with the best and cheapest internet infrastructure. And as a result, many government services are online, making it easier, for example, for entrepreneurs to set up companies on their smartphones. This is something that takes away bureaucracy. You open up applications on your smartphone, you create your company, and you start business immediately. Now, as a result of many government services being online, it is something that makes life easier for many Rwandans. His administrations has improved, as I have said earlier, equality between men and women. And if you look at the parliament, Rwandan parliament, you will find 60% are women. This is a threshold that has not even been achieved in the developed world. And we have it in Rwanda. In Kenya, it is becoming something like a bottleneck to democracy in Kenya, because that threshold cannot be achieved. If a man and a woman go for elections, most likely the man will win. But how it has been achieved in Rwanda is something that is related to the leadership style that is provided by Paul Kagame. These are some of the positive aspects of the Rwandan leadership. And in addition to what I have just said, the positive aspects of Rwandan leadership is the low level of corruption. In most African countries, what is preventing progress and development is corruption. And corruption is related to democracy. Democracy in Africa is a smoke screen. It doesn't really exist. If you compare it to the West, they have grown that concept of governance over a period of time, over a long period of time. And we cannot plant a tree today and expect to get the fruit tomorrow. This is a culture that they have nurtured over a period of time, and we as Africans have our own way of governance and practicing administration. So importing the Western lifestyle and planting it in Africa, it doesn't automatically guarantee that we are going to have democracy. The kind of democracy we have in Africa, the foundation of that democracy is corruption. So in Rwanda, they have reduced drastically the level of corruption in government institutions as well as private institutions. When if I just mention democracy, democracy is the rule by the people according to the definitions of the West. But in Africa, democracy exists in other dimensions. In the traditional lifestyle of our great-great-grandfathers, we used to have administrations that are based on justice and fairness. There was nothing like democracy. People are appointed to positions. There are two schools of thought generally. A leader brings together a team to administer, to rule, to govern. And there is another school of thought where a team appoints amongst themselves a leader. It is the conundrum of which comes first, the chicken or the egg, or the leader or the team, which one comes first? Now, democracy tells us that the team comes first. The team comes first, and they appoint, they elect or appoint or choose, whatever word you want to use. They have to come up with one person whose word is final. In our traditional way of doing, in our traditional way of governing, the process involved selection. There were elders, and the elders come together and they appoint someone who they believe has integrity. Integrity is combination of many qualities: truthfulness, honesty, fairness. While many Rwandans revere their president for the progress the country has made during these 21 plus years in office, others criticize Kagame for suppressing dissenting views. Now, what are these dissenting views? There are a lot of dissenting views that are prohibited, punished, discouraged, even in the West. So any view or activity that threatens the stability of a country should never be entertained by anyone. So some of And most of current administrations in the world, they fight terrorism. Terrorism is a threat. Everyone knows that. So what is wrong with a country fighting dissenting views that threaten to stabilize the existence of that country? What is wrong with that? This is something that people need to think about. In leadership, what is taught is that the buck stops with the leader. The blame, if something goes wrong, the people who are working with the leader are not blamed. Who is blamed is the leader. Why? Because he has the final word over how things should be done. And in that case, if development and progress has to be reached by any organization, any business, any country, then the leader should rule with an iron fist. No if, no but, no excuse. If something has to be done, it has to be done. And that is the kind of leadership that is found in Rwanda. People have to do what has to be done. And personally, I admire that kind of leadership. The weak, feeble, kind of leadership where someone doesn't know what is to be done. There are a lot of cartels surrounding the leader. He wants to do this, but he can't do because there's someone who is interested with something there. He can't turn this way because someone else is. This is the kind of problems that Kenya is facing. If there is any good legacy that Uhuru Kenyatta wants to leave behind, corruption should be number one threat. The existence of this country depends on fighting corruption. Our next person of interest, we are going to look at the president of Somalia, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, and we look at how he has managed in a span of 4 years the progress that country has reached. Many people will tell you Farmajo is a dictator, but we will look at why these people are saying he's a dictator and why those who support him say he is the best thing that has ever happened to Somalia. Keep it here, subscribe and turn on notification. Thank you.